all the naysayers that are all over Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill, especially in regard to no tax on Social Security, let me clear a few things up for you, okay?
Now, this has been huge to people. As a matter of fact, I've seen online the mainstream media and the wicked left-wing extremists and radical Democrat politicians have been using people's ignorance. And when I say the word ignorance, I only mean lacking knowledge. They've been using people's ignorance against them to fearmonger about this big, beautiful bill. Now, initially, they were having people freaked out about their Medicaid and their SNAP benefits being thrown out. And then we dispelled that by proving that within the bill that has been signed into law, if you're over 65 years old, you don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about those work requirements. If you're a single parent that has a child that's under 7, you don't have to worry about those work requirements. The only people that have to worry about the work requirements as far as fulfilling them to stay eligible are anybody that has a child that's over 7, because your child should be in school for at least 8 to 9 hours a day. Or if you're an able-bodied person who does not have small children, you dang on straight, you're going to be kicked off of it, or you're going to be forced to fulfill the work requirements. So then once that's been disproven, because in section 10002 of the big, beautiful bill, it lays it out. The next was the Social Security. People believe that President Trump and the Republicans somehow just forgot about seniors and left them hanging in the cold. And nothing could be further from the truth. The thing is, they did not grant blanket 100% no taxes on Social Security across the board. Now, in this video, I'm going to break down why. And when you realize and you hear why and what they did, again, you'll look at the lamestream media and these radical, wicked politicians and say, now, y'all know this. Why would y'all be spinning it to people knowing that the only reason why they're freaking out is because they haven't read it and they don't understand what it says? So let's get into it. So as you see right here, this article by the Villages News states that 90% of Social Security recipients will no longer pay taxes on their benefits. Now, we're going to go into this article, which is really short, but then I'm going to lay out the proof for you. The Social Security Administration is celebrating the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill, a landmark piece of legislation that delivers long-awaited tax relief to millions of older Americans. The bill ensures that nearly 90% of Social Security beneficiaries will no longer pay federal income taxes on their benefits, providing meaningful and immediate relief to seniors who have spent a lifetime contributing to our nation's economy. This is a historic step forward for America's seniors, says Social Security Commissioner Frank Bisignano. For nearly 90 years, Social Security has been a cornerstone of economic security for older Americans. By significantly reducing the tax burden on benefits, this legislation reaffirms President Trump's promise to protect Social Security and helps ensure that seniors can better enjoy the retirement that they have earned. People work hard their whole life. It's ridiculous that they got to pay taxes again on the money that they've already worked for. The new law includes a provision that eliminates federal income taxes on Social Security benefits for most beneficiaries, providing relief to individuals and couples. Also, additionally, it provides an enhanced deduction for taxpayers aged 65 and older, ensuring that retirees can keep more of what they earn. Social Security remains committed to providing timely, accurate information to the public and will continue working closely with federal partners to ensure beneficiaries understand how this legislation may affect them. So now let's break it down where you can see through the lies. But before we do that, I want you to listen to President Trump as to how the Social Security Administration got in the position that it's in and why now it's roaring like a new grown male lion is because of who was running it. This left-wing extremist. Matter of fact, let me just let the president tell you what was going on.
Corrupt country, and it's a sad thing to say, but we're figuring it out. Now, the good thing about Social Security and what I read is if you take all of those numbers off, because they're obviously fraudulent or incompetent, but if you take all of those millions of people off Social Security, all of a sudden we have a very powerful Social Security with people that are 80 and 70 and 90, but not 200 years old. You know, so it's a very positive thing. How about over here, Gil? Please.
Your reaction to the Dodd-Frank head resigning after Doge investigations, the head of Social Security?
Got fired. I think got fired. You know, when you fire somebody, they always resign, and then they say, we resigned. But when you have numbers like that, I think really it's got fired. They have to get fired. Who would keep them? How could you have numbers like this? Now, the big thing is, how many of these people got paid? Were they getting paid? Were they getting paid? How many of them were getting paid Social Security? Because if that's the case, it's a massive fraud. We'll have to call those great Palm Beach police into this situation, right? You guys would figure that out very quick.
So as you see, there was tremendous fraud. Now let's break down the lie that they've been selling to the people. So the reason why it's not 100% across the board is because you have people out there who have, made 200,000, 300,000, even more than that, have millions of dollars that they earn annually as retired people. So if you did no tax across the board, those people wouldn't have to pay a tax either. And unfortunately, they're in a financial situation where they've made substantial amounts. Therefore, they still can contribute to the country, because at the end of the day, we all still contribute. But when you've worked hard and you're on a fixed income and what you make is enough for you to survive, then obviously the fair thing would be to leave those people alone. So that's the only reason why it's not 100%. But think about how many elderly people really are making substantial amounts of money like that, where they can afford to still contribute tax-wise. Based on the numbers, it's only 10%. And even before that, because a lot of the lamestream media will try to act like, oh, everybody's against it. As a matter of fact, look at what the Social Security office themselves said. Look at what they said themselves. If you're enjoying this video, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, because one thing I will never do, I'll never ask you for a cash app or a super chat, but you hitting that like button, it really helps spread the information out. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And if you are subscribed or you're considering subscribing today, make sure that you hit that notification bell and you select all. YouTube is having an issue with notifications, but if you have all selected, you'll get notified when I upload new videos. Okay, so let's read this. The Social Security Administration is celebrating the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill, a landmark piece of legislation that delivers long-awaited tax relief to millions of older Americans. The bill ensures that 90% of Social Security beneficiaries will no longer pay federal income taxes on their benefits, providing meaningful and immediate relief to seniors who have spent a lifetime contributing to the nation's economy. And this is a quote. This is a historic step forward for American seniors, says Social Security Commissioner Frank Mignano. For nearly 90 years, Social Security has been a cornerstone. I read that quote in the early article. This new law includes a provision that eliminates federal income taxes on Social Security benefits for most beneficiaries, providing relief to individuals and couples. Additionally, it provides an enhanced deduction for taxpayers 65 and older. Social Security remains committed to providing 9 times. So as you see, the Social Security office themselves have, told President Trump, hey, man, we loving it. So let's get back to the breakdown of this. Let me enlarge it some to make sure you can see everything that's going on right here, because this is where it breaks down how it works. Seniors age 65 and over receiving Social Security income is 58.5 million. And now it shows seniors with exemptions and deductions that exceed taxable Social Security income under the current law was only 37.2 million. Okay, 64% of the beneficiaries. Under the current new One Big Beautiful Bill, that leaps up to 51.4 million Americans. 88% of beneficiaries now have exemptions and deductions that exceed taxable Social Security income. Now, how is that being done? Here's another breakdown. A senior who files as a senior taxpayer and receives the current average retirement benefit, which is approximately $24,000, will see deductions that exceed their taxable Social Security income. So in other words, the government is giving you a tax credit that exceeds the amount of money that you are earning in your Social Security, which means that you zero out. Even if you didn't have that much in tax deductions, the government is giving you $6,000 in deductions, which will most definitely exceed your taxable income. Therefore, you pay $0. And remember, the only reason they couldn't do a blanket, because you have some people who make substantial amounts of money in their retirement, roughly around 10 to 12%. Therefore, the government is still expecting them to contribute, as they should. You earned a great life to the point that in your retirement, you're doing well above others. It's not like socialism or communism saying, hey, give us half. It's just saying, hey, listen, do you really need the tax break? Do you really need it, knowing that our country runs off the money that our citizens contribute? Can you take this one for the team and those people aren't complaining at all. But for 88%, roughly 90% of seniors to no longer have to worry about income tax. And here's the thing that the lamestream media is trying to run with. Just because on their actual Social Security checks, it still shows a deduction. They say, oh, they didn't remove the taxes. But if you're getting the tax credit at the end of the year, where when you do your taxes, you're getting it back in a refund check, guess what? You paid zero taxes. Point blank, period. So it even gives a table that breaks it down. So if you're a married senior and you both receive the average of roughly $24,000 a year on Social Security income, a total of $48,000, your deductions will be relevant to that. Your deductions go to $12,000. And think about it. How many seniors you know got $6,000 in taxable deductions? How many couples, senior couples you know that are in retirement making over $100,000 a year not working? It's not very many. So this is huge for them. My father is one who is retired, but guess what? He doesn't qualify for this because the amount of money he makes in his pension and his Social Security, he far exceeds what this is. Him alone makes more than what the couple's allotment is in retirement. So my dad will be somebody who probably does not get the exemption. And I'm grateful for that. I'm not saying that's unfair. No, my father put in work. He did good with his money. His houses and his cars are paid for. And he's in a position that, you know what? He's willing to contribute. Of course, he would love it if he didn't have to, but he's also not upset because he knows what this country has done for him. So the Democrats are lying. And as you see here, new senior deduction for single, $6,000. Standard deduction, $15,750. Existing senior deduction. So you're looking at $23,750. Okay, for seniors, when the average income is $24,000. Look at what they did. If you're a couple, deduction for couples $12,000, standard deduction $31,500. Existing senior deduction for couples is $3,200. Brings that to $46,700. When the average is $48,000. So when they try to lie and say that President Trump didn't keep his promises, that is a lie. And it's in black and white, and now it's a law. As a matter of fact, listen to this woman as she gives an awesome breakdown of what I was just explaining to you.
To all the naysayers that are shitting all over Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill, especially in regard to no tax on Social Security, let me clear a few things up for you, okay? So if you pay tax on your Social Security throughout the year, and then you get it in a full refund back in April of the following year, then you didn't pay any income tax on your Social Security. Now, if you're a senior and you make $200,000, $300,000, $1 million, $5 million, for whatever reason, dividends, stocks, rental income, whatever the case may be, then you will not get a refund. So if he did away with just no tax at all on Social Security, those people that make in excess of $175,000 a year would also pay no tax. And you all want the rich to pay their fair share, right? So that's why it had to be done this way. But if you're a senior and you're married and you make under $175,000, you will get your full Social Security income tax refunded to you. And if you were a single senior that makes under $75,000, again, you will get your full income tax on your Social Security refunded back to you. And if you happen to be a lucky senior and you make a shit ton of money, well, then you're going to have to pay. So I hope that clears everything up for everybody and understanding why he framed it the way that he did.
So yeah, so these folks, they just love to jump on TV and fearmonger and freak people out for no reason whatsoever. And at the end of the day, why? It just seems like their objective is to fear people into voting for them because they know that's the only way they can win. Now, check out Bernie Sanders here. He goes on Joe Rogan. And one thing about Bernie, he's the super grifter. Because remember, for years, Bernie was all about the millionaires paying their share, the millionaires. And if you notice Bernie no longer says the millionaires. He only says the billionaires, the billionaires. You know why? Because at the time when he was screaming from the rooftops, he wasn't a millionaire. Now, on 174, he's a senator. So they make $224,000 a year. How is Bernie Sanders worth the millions and millions of dollars that he is? Smart investing. It's like Nancy Pelosi, whose net worth is $270 million. And when you look at when her wealth took off, It took off when she became the majority leader in the House. As a matter of fact, expert brokers, expert investors say Nancy Pelosi, Nancy and her husband, their investments have been greater than the best firms on Wall Street by far. No comparison. Now, how is it that all of a sudden they want to talk about the billionaires, but they don't talk about the millionaires anymore because they are one? So Bernie Sanders like to jump up and talk that grift talk about people paying more taxes and paying their fair share. But I have yet to see any proof or documentation that he's filled out saying he wants Uncle Sam to take out more of his money. Hey, Uncle Sam, take 50% of my wages because I want to pay my fair share. He doesn't do that. He does this whole Doc Brown shtick. And if you're too young to know who Doc Brown is from Back to the Future. You know, the inventor that rolled with Marty McFly. He does this Doc Brown shtick. I honestly think Bernie fluffs his hair out to make him look like the mad scientist on purpose. And he comes out, and he does this talking and stick, and he does this stuff, and it's like kind of wacky, and it makes you think that he's really telling the truth. Like he's just this kooky old man. But really behind the scene, this dude is a cutthroat, extremist, libtard, radical, socialist, grifter, who talks this big talk about power to the people while enriching himself and allowing the party that he aligns with to sell us out and do things to take the genitals away from our boys, turn girls into boys, turn boys into girls, have men pissing in women's restrooms, have transgenders brutalizing young girls, robbing scholarships from them, have the borders wide open with everybody and their mama on our healthcare system and entitlement programs. He won't speak out about that. But boy, Elon Musk spending $270 million on the campaign for President Trump. Woo, can't have that. While Kamala Harris spent $1.4 billion in campaign donations and another $1 billion in PAC money. $2.5 billion spent by Kamala Harris, but he's silent on that. Listen to this crap.
There's so many different. What would you have done? Like, imagine if you hadn't gotten derailed and they hadn't conspired against you, and you actually became the Democratic candidate for president, and you won. What would you have done differently?
Okay. How many hours do we have?
We got all the time in the world, Bernie.
I know.
What would you have done first day in office?
Well, it's not just the first day. I would have dealt with this campaign finance reform issue. And there are ways that you can get around that Supreme Court decision.
Now, you notice they talk all of that crap, but the moment that he's asked a blanket question, hey, listen, man, what would you have done different? You saw all of that crap that he did, all of that posturing. Oh, how much time you got? It was a full 60 seconds, and this man hadn't said anything. Why? Because he doesn't have a plan. None of them do. Their plan is just to go against anything Trump does. It's like Jasmine Crotchet or the fake Bronx girl, AOC, who's really from Yorktown, grew up in a freaking $250,000 house. There's nothing wrong with that, but don't lie about it. We've got the whacked out Jamal Bowman pulling fire alarms. He's one of the biggest, most loudmouth racists I've seen on TV. We've got people like Roy Reid, better known as Joy Reid, the black female Donald Trump lookalike with the blonde hair, who's also one of the most radical, racist, and ignorant people I have ever heard speak, ever. She's a disgrace to the race. But this is the crap that we're fighting against, the lies. So, no. The seniors did get blessed in this bill. 90% of them will no longer have to worry about their taxes. They can keep that money in their pocket where it should be, which adds a tremendous amount of relief to our seniors, which also helps stimulate the economy because the more money they keep, the more money they're spending. They're in the twilights of their life. And at that point, if they're in those situations where they're living off of that Social Security, it's not like they got big investments they're passing down to their children. They're living life. So it frees up money to maybe take that cruise. Maybe to take that trip, maybe for them and their significant other to feel young again and go out and do something that they couldn't afford previously. But the bottom line is the lies have to stop. The lamestream media and the demon rat politicians keep fear mongering, and we're going to keep exposing it every turn that we can. So if you've hung out and you still with me, you watch this, I want to say sincerely, I greatly appreciate you. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, leave a comment. Tell me what you think. How do you feel about the fact that, again, they've been busted in their lies? And if you aren't already subscribed, but most importantly, I want you to stay safe and you be great. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.